Hello, this is Connor, Raleigh, and Chris with Group 5 and our findings within the Blackheath case.
So we're going to have an overview here, key problems that we would like to address about this case and what we found important to this company. We're going to discuss some of the knowledge and analysis, such as the formulas and calculations that were required to obtain the solutions that we discovered, including the hard and soft skills utilized. And then finally, we're going to close with our opinions as executives on what the biggest takeaways were away from this case.
So throughout the case, there were some major key problems and decisions that were made that really affected the company's profitability and money that they could have made or not or didn't make. And after reviewing the case, some of the bigger issues we found were their rejection of orders and their price points. So their price points were too low, which led to the company rejecting orders that would have actually made them money instead of being more flexible with their price points, accepting those orders and being profitable with them. And another issue that we found was their approach at excess capacity and capacity constraints. And when it comes to excess capacity, they should have lowered their price until they hit that break-even point. And once they hit that break-even point, they could have had more flexibility with their prices and even raise their prices once they reach that excess capacity level. And the importance of this is crucial because it really impacts whether the company loses or makes money. And you want to make sure that you're not rejecting something that could have been profitable for the company in that aspect. And these are also some important terms: contribution margin, excess capacity, and break-even points that were within the case. Understanding each of these terms can help the company make the right decisions within so they can be as profitable as possible. And then below that are just a couple formulas that were needed to calculate all the numbers that we got in the case. And basically those calculations just give you evidence on accepting or rejecting orders. And so you're not just making blind decisions and you don't know whether you're going to be profitable or not. You're just kind of like, well, I'm going to make this decision based off my knowledge instead of using actual formulas to get the evidence to have like set in stone decisions for the company.
So here we're going to talk about some of the hard skills required, technological skills, just kind of to piggyback a little bit off of what we were just discussing. A good understanding of the inventory as well as the production process would probably help a little bit with the understanding for making the decisions. This helps the team understand the cost as it relates to the break-even point. The next area is the accounting practices. One area that we kind of talked about over and over again while we were going to this group project was the funny rounding of the 12 cent. That's a bit concerning. And while it is small, if you're doing a large production volume over time, 12 cent adds up. And if that 12 cent rounding error is incorrect during that whole time, you're going to have a significant issue when it comes to the end of the fiscal year. The next area is the data analysis. One area that we saw repeatedly was the accountant just kind of made some assumptions based off of information that he might not completely understand, and it's a bit concerning because he might not have the complete picture and not understand the nuance of the situation. And we found that with sticking to hard, fast rules that where they could have been profitable, they're now retaining now supply on their books. And then the last area is negotiation. This is the area for the company where they struggled as a whole. There's, like I said, multiple opportunities for the company to make some money and remain profitable, but instead they stuck with those rules. And the inventory is now stagnant. Unfortunate part of that is it's now excess quantities that are going to stay in storerooms if you have room for it. But eventually they're going to have to dump it to try to make some kind of money, but they're going to lose money in the long run from it where they could otherwise turn to profit. And so the next area that kind of rolls us into is the soft skills required. So number one, integrity. So here you've got a big issue for you're dealing with sales. So anytime you're dealing with sales, you're going to need folks that are going to be honest and doing the right thing when they're supposed to be doing it, especially when you're doing with commissions, because you want to make sure that they're staying and doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and producing the numbers that they're saying that they're producing. Flexibility. This is an area that the company has failed multiple times. This limited the sales team's ability to make sound decisions. It limited the salesperson's potential to make their own commissions, much less make the company a profit. Creativity. This is an area where the team and the company could have come together and found some common ground to fix the pricing issues. This would have allowed for some growth and maybe not been so dogmatic. And then finally, effective communication. I think we kind of saw this. It was with the rules that came out. It was this is how it is, or the highway, as we saw with the office manager or office clerk, the 19-year-old that got fired. There was no effective communication because she wouldn't have made probably that sale if she knew that she was going to lose her job otherwise. So this is just some areas that would probably have been places they should fix moving forward to work on.
All right, so some additional questions and areas to build on that we have for this case is, as we talked about before, the 12-cent rounding error sends off a lot of red flags for our group because it's listed as funny data, which means that this might not be the most accurate, or it could potentially be mislabeled information, which was, like as we stated before, could greatly affect both increase or decrease in the price point. It would also be interesting to see what the future sales would be at the introduced price of $8 per unit. As we saw at the end of the case, we as a group believe that such an increase would cause sales to decrease and cash flow to decrease as well. This would cause a negative effect on the company because they would not make as many sales, and the amount that to such a scale that they would actually probably lose money overall. The final question we would have is, if a set number of units were produced, would this make a difference in the decreasing of the cost of production? Because if that is so, the decrease in cost of production will mean a decrease in sale price, which will increase sales of the units, which then could increase the cash flow, which is ideal for any company. So some of the executive takeaways we had are contribution margins and break-even points are indicators that are very critical to the proper breakdown of a company's sales and their sales price. Break-even points allow a firm to recognize the moment in which a company goes from losing money to being profitable, which means that if needed, they could increase the prices, which is obviously a good thing for cash flow once you break even. Contribution margins can be given it can give important insight into if an order should be accepted and at what price point it should be accepted or rejected at. As we saw in the case, there were many different instances where that played a pivotal factor in this decision-making process. Price points are also affected by law of supply and demand. If the demand decreases and the supply remains the same, the price will need to decrease. But if the demand increases and the supply stays the same, the price will increase. Our final conclusion is that we need to reevaluate the CEO of the company. This is based upon the decision regarding an increase to a minimum of $8 a unit, as the company was already struggling to sell at $7 a unit. Our group believes that the sales price would cause a decrease in sales so great that essentially the company would be losing money rather than making more money, even though it does offer a higher profit margin. The new sales price will need to be determined. The $8 sales point and even the $7 price point can be argued that they are currently way too high for the current market demand. The firm needs to enforce and maintain a clear selling point based on the cost of production and sales of the product. The firm will also need to ensure they break even before a large increase in the sales price of their product. If the company does not break even, they're losing money and thereby as defined a failing business. Thank you guys very much, and I hope you have a great day.